Hi.
Welcome to another episode of Tzuzamen. Hi,
Hi,
Tzip.
Tzili. How are you?
Good.
And listen, we have a very interesting guest today.
And let's dive in. No
That's
introduction.
it. No
It's
introduction.
enough.
We know. Just
Stories
look at
on
him and
stories
we
on
know that
stories.
he is a totach.
With the
A totach is, yeah, he's totach.
Liami Lawrence.
Yes. What is Liami?
Hi, shalom.
Liami Lawrence in Tel Aviv now, an American
Okay.
in Tel Aviv. Liami, where are you from?
So I made Aliyah from Los Angeles
When?
8 years ago,
Oh.
and I went from Beverly Hills to Schitt's Creek. No, I'm joking.
Ben Yehuda Street now. It's like a shit creek. Yeah.
Exactly. See?
Yeah, no, it
And,
sounds terrible. They dig in Tel Aviv because they build a subway.
No, there are days when I can't even walk the dog for 6 hours at a time because they took away the sidewalk in front of the building and there's no way out of the building.
Unbelievable.
It's crazy, but we got used to it. It's been like a year already.
Oh.
Probably another 5-6 years, you
But
know.
in 5 years, you'll have a subway.
Yeah, when Jesus comes back and is a
Yes.
grandfather, then we'll have the subway.
Right.
Why did you move to Israel?
That because I'm an Oleh Dafuk, you know. I just
And screw that.
I got this in my head that I needed a sense of belonging, and my parents are American, and basically this is my story. Where we moved around a lot when I was a kid. I went to 2 junior high schools and 4 high schools.
Where?
And East Coast, all over the East Coast. So I never stayed in a school too long. When we moved to Massachusetts at the time, I was the only Jew in my school. And I got beat up.
In the army, that's why you moved around a lot.
My father left the army.
And you still moved?
We still moved. You know, my parents were drug dealers. What could I tell you? No, I'm joking. I'm joking, Mom.
You are talking to Tzili and Tzipi from Square Dizengoff, and we believe everybody. We are very innocent.
I'm just joking to all those that are listening. No, so anyway, we moved around a lot. I was the only Jew in school. It was 1977 or 79 that it got so bad. Math teacher refused to teach me because I didn't believe in Jesus. So he threw me out of the class. My parents would be millionaires just from what happened. But back those days, you couldn't sue. So they just gave me a study hall.
Wow.
I never learned math.
Wow.
And
I learned and I know nothing. So
that's when I started feeling I didn't belong. And my parents didn't know what to do. I was getting beat up every day. And pennies thrown at me saying, it was the time when the Holocaust series was on. So that was 77, 79, I forget. Anyway, so my parents sent me with a Jewish group across the country, America, and then I liked it. And then I went to Israel with them, and then I fell in love with Israel. And I came here for a sense of belonging.
So how long?
It's a messed up country, but it's my country.
You speak like me.
Why do you think it's a messed up country?
Because, well, first of all, from my perspective, I deal with the most broken people every day in my NGO.
Tell us about it.
Tell us about it because people
then we
don't know
come
what
back.
you do. Tell us about your organization for the new immigrants to Israel.
Okay. So I moved here from Beverly Hills and I quickly fell flat on my face. I got really sick. I couldn't find a job. And I ran out of money.
In Israel? Did you know anybody?
Yeah, I had tons of friends here. Listen, I was the public relations director of media of the Israeli consulate.
Okay, so
I worked for Israeli nonprofits and celebrity wrangler, bringing celebrities to rubber chicken dinner type of deal.
So that you came and you'd never.
So I thought that I'd have a lot of contacts here, but sadly it didn't pin out. I think there's age discrimination. Like after you become 40 plus, let's say, it's very hard to find a job, especially when you don't speak Hebrew. So I wrote a post. My friend told me to complain loudly. I decided I was leaving Israel. So he said, go to Facebook and start a group. I did. I called the KeepOlim in Israel movement. The first post
Oleh
was
is new immigrants. Yeah.
the first post was F to the Jewish agency that brought me here for lying. And within 3 days, we had 3,000 people cursing and screaming in every language. In 2 weeks, we had 10,000. Then Judy Maltz from Haaretz, she's one of the editors. Well, I was famous here 30 years ago for something else. And
But
she remembered
let
that.
Let me stop you for a second. Can you describe the process of becoming a new immigrant when you come to Israel? Because people are not aware. I mean, not everybody is an immigrant, but it's hard enough to move from country to country.
So most people watching you are either immigrants, children of immigrants, or grandchildren of immigrants, wherever they're watching from, America, Israel.
What is the process today that you had to go through in order to become a citizen of Israel?
You fill out a lot of paperwork. You have a lot of background checks, FBI fingerprints and whatnot. You have to prove that you're Jewish, or like there's a law of return. So if somebody has a Jewish grandparent and you could prove that, you're allowed to make Aliyah or move to Israel. However, you will not be considered Jewish. So therefore, you can't get married in Israel. You can't get buried in a Jewish cemetery in Israel. And it's a lot of problems. And guess what? We have 500,000 immigrants, 500,000 people in this category where they serve in the army. They're part Jewish. In America, Reform and conservatives would say they're Jewish because that's who they are. But in Israel, you know, the religious have a very strict hold of the definition of who's a Jew.
What do you think about it? What do you think about Israel being so strict about defining who is a Jew?
So right now we are doing the No Oleh Alone program for Rosh Hashanah, where we spent the last 2 weeks personally matching each Oleh in 6 languages that needed a place to go from Metula to Eilat. We put them in a home. And we don't care if you're religious, part Jewish, or quarter Jewish. We service anybody with the 2. Oleh, an immigrant card. That's who our NGO services. So we don't discriminate. About 40% of the people that we place are Russian or Ukrainian, and about 30% of them have never done anything Jewish. So I believe in Kiruv.
You still didn't answer my question.
No, but let's go back because there's
What?
I want to know, because I'm not a new immigrant to Israel, how is Israel welcoming its new immigrants, and what Israel is giving a person to bring them to the country? Just take us through the process of coming.
Okay, so let's say you filled out all the paperwork and all that stuff and you've been approved. So now you do not come to Israel. Sadly, many do with no savings. So you get a free ticket one way to move here, courtesy of the Israeli government. And then basically you're on your own.
You don't get some money.
You get a package, you get a sal klita, which is a basket over the first year of 18,000 shekels. Okay, spread over 6 or 7 payments.
Where do they take you from the airport? Where do you go?
You're allowed one ride in a taxi to wherever you're going. However, some people come here with no places to go.
So what happens?
So the ones from third world countries and like war countries right now, or India or Hungary, places like that, they go to Mirkaz Klitat absorption centers
for free.
Because it's mostly for younger kids right now, younger people right now. It used to be for anybody. Basically for Western immigrants, they're pretty much on their own. You know, a lot of them, sadly, we feed people. We just fed about 20 families this week that didn't have food, and lone soldiers who had no food for the holidays. and couldn't leave wherever they were to go to somebody's house.
How does people know about your organization?
We have 46,000, 45,000 plus people on Facebook. It's called KeepOlim in Israel movement. And
how do you finance it?
So we are eligible for government funds, but there's no government. We are,
That's funny.
all our donations come from private people in the group. You know, we seriously need help to keep our doors open.
The government knows, I mean, the system knows about you.
So yeah, Alex Kushner, Chaver Knesset, Alex Kushner came to our Hanukkah party. We make events, we do a lot of things, but Alex Kushner spoke at our Hanukkah party in the pouring rain in front of hundreds of Olim, and he promised that our mental health program will get the lion's share of 2 million shekels for mental health for Olim. We right now service 200 lone soldiers in 15 different languages with weekly therapy in their own native language. And then we also have another 350 Olim from 100 different countries, basically, that we service weekly also. And either it's free, or they pay a very low sum directly to the therapist.
What is a common thing that caused them to go to a therapy, like a depression, anxiety?
Oh, a lot of people. I got depressed when I came here. I came from Beverly Hills. I brought all my tchotchkes and all this stuff. I didn't know that I'd be broke. I'd never had in my life where someone had to bring me food. Because the Israelis, Israelis like, Israelis feel free in your house. So they go to the refrigerator without asking, right? It's very different than Beverly Hills.
Right.
They open the refrigerator, they say, oh shit, there's no food.
This is what I do in their house.
So they tell me I'm going out for a smoke, and they come back 20 minutes later with sakiyot of groceries. Right. That's Israelis. Yes. So that's the beauty of Israel. So that's the beauty plus. You know?
There are two things in Israel. One, very warm people that welcome you in the best way, and the system is giving you a pile of problems, but it's hard enough to move. But I want to ask you, when you basically serve everybody, doesn't matter Jewish, no
we have 100 countries. We serve you if you're part Jewish. We've helped Russian Hare Krishnas. You know, if their grandparents Jewish, we don't judge. We've helped everybody. You know, our mental health department's run by an angel. She does chesed. She doesn't get paid. Everybody works for free except for me. I have a salary that's almost poverty level because we want to do this. We help people. Last night we had a suicidal Oleh that called us. Wow. They call up Iran, the suicide hotline, and they don't have English people available. So now people are turning to us. We have a Russian department, we have a Spanish and French department, and we have obviously an English department. We have Olim from 100 different countries, all backgrounds. Half the group is religious. This is the beauty of KeepOlim. Half is religious, half is not. There's one thing in the group, there's no politics.
But tell me something.
We don't, that's like the unifier. So we unify people that never would talk to each other. We have Haredim in the group. We have Hare Krishnas in the group in Israel. So everybody is together. That's the one thing, because if we unite immigrants, they have a lot more power, because every time there's elections. So we're trying to get the ears of the people to say, help us, because we're doing your job.
So if you want to make Aliyah to Israel, you have to get in touch with somebody in your country, right? In order to start.
You get in touch with the Jewish agency in your country.
That's fine. Why don't they tell them? Why don't they tell them?
So why?
Them that
a lot of shalichim just want numbers. They don't want to say, why is we called KeepOlim? keep Olim, keep
Yeah.
immigrants.
Right.
Now, we don't take a gun and stand at the airport and saying,
What do
no,
you
you
mean they
can't
want
leave.
only
Well,
numbers?
they want to say that there is enough for Olim. They don't like if you come,
So I
they
can
come,
tell
you
you,
don't tell
I
them.
could tell you that 40 to 50% of French Olim leave and Latinos leave. About 35% of the Russian Ukrainian population leaves. And I'm going to estimate 60% of the American Canadians leave also.
Nobody take
And
care of
about
them.
half from Western Europe.
So
Like,
it's not Salklita.
I have
Salklita
about
should-
500.
Wait.
Wait. I just got to say this. Me personally, I keep a list. I have 500 friends, people that I know personally that have left the country in 6 years.
What do you expect if the Salklita doesn't include the mental and emotional taking care? You see, Israel is a wonderful. You talk to me. It's the best country in the world. I love it. I cannot be outside Israel. When I'm outside Israel, like I'm here 6 months, no, half and half. I'm not happy here. I don't breathe well here. But still, it is for me. It's the best country in the world. But if you ask me what is the fuck ups, I can give you a list. You can give a list, and Tzili can give a list. Now, somebody should give the list. They should come prepared. I must tell you something. I know I'm taking space here, but when I came to Michigan for my graduate school the first time, I didn't know what to expect. I ended up at JFK. I don't hear Hebrew anymore, only English. What the fuck is this? I go and I want something that belonged to me, that I'm used to. So I went to this deli and I asked for blinches. Well, the woman looked at me and she said, I don't know what it is. I said, oh, so I started to explain her, was it belinches? Like 15 minutes. And then she bring me 2 Wonder Bread, you know, the white bread, and in the middle, a piece of yellow cheese, right? That was my, and then I go to the taxi. I can swear to God, the driver was chatting all the time to a neighbor from Detroit. I didn't understand anything. Not yes and not no, nothing. So, you know, for the first few weeks, I felt, you know, lonely. I was married, I had a child, and still, you know, it was so difficult. Nobody prepared me.
So most
Country.
you just grab the experience. So we just experienced Corona.
Oh.
Israel was closed. The Olim couldn't see their families. People had weddings, bar mitzvahs, people dying. It was a mess. We try to help as many people as we can to get the proper papers. We have Josh Aronson, who worked his butt off for volunteering, spending days doing this. You know, people feeling close. We had support groups. We did 100 people participated in Zoom support groups, and it was amazing. We had support groups in 5 languages. So people right now, it's the holidays. So many Olim are lonely. They have no place to go. They don't know what to do. We don't just throw them in people's houses, because we throw them in people's houses, they're going to be texting on the phone, wishing it was a white Christmas back in wherever they came from.
Right.
So we need to do shidduchim, and that's how we do. Our volunteers take the time to hear what the person. We've done transgenders. We do LGBT. We do vegetarians. We don't care. We do all the people that need to have a place to go or take care of.
Liami, did you ever put together a plan or a program that to work with the system in Israel, to tell them from your experience?
So we had a meeting with the Jewish agency, with the CEO, who politely told us if we mention the word suicide one more time, the meeting's over. I came with the heads of my Tikva by KeepOlim mental health program, because we had 12 lone soldiers commit suicides. Now think about this. There's only 6,000 lone soldiers. Half of them come from Israel, from broken families. We also service them as well. But we have 200 lone soldiers right now in mental health therapy.
Oh my God.
What does that say? We have stopped so many. I've been on the phone 3 times personally myself, where I had a lone soldier go to his commander with me on the phone, put down his gun and say, I can't do this anymore. This is for you. Please get me out of here. Okay. We've picked up people, we put them in the Barbanel, the mental health system in Israel, Alapanim. Okay. Last night we had a suicidal phone call. During the holidays, 3 years ago, I had Yom Kippur suicide phone call. Okay. We answered the phone. Susan is Haredi. Susan's very religious, who runs this program. She got a hechsher from her rabbi that when I call her, she'll answer the phone so we could save the people committing suicide.
Have you ever worked with the Dorit Nitzan and Nitzani? You know, they have, she and Yair Nitzani, they have an organization for lonely soldiers that came to Israel.
Sad to say, I've never heard of their name.
This is really also
This
a problem.
is something that it's a big organization, and every year, every winter, they do a big party for support to the lonely soldiers, and they give them homes, they give them money, they give them support. There are more organizations that I think you should know about each other. I'll give you the details.
Well, we reached out to people. We work out with the housing for different NGOs that work for housing for lone soldiers. We're partnered with them. Last year we advocated for lone soldiers to get a bigger manak, and we got that. And Svika Klein tweeted about it, giving us credit for it. So
if people want to help, how should they get to you?
So we have a website, keepolim.org, KEEPOLIM.org, and they could read and they could see pictures of people we helped. Tomorrow, for instance, Motzi Shabbat, we have 9 babushkas and dadushkas in Bat Yam, and about a year ago, my co-founder, Svika Greiver, who's from, his parents are Bukhari immigrants, he found a Russian lady begging on the street. And so we said, we'll help her. And she told 2 friends who told 2 friends, and now we have 9 babushkas and dadushkas. And we personally, because these are invalids, a lot of them, so we go to, they tell us what we want, we go buy it for them and pick it and give them a hug, a kiss, a happy 2 minutes, you know, and that's it. But the incredible thing, sadly, in Bat Yam is about 30,000 elderly people like this. We just have 9. Okay. When we walked into the houses the first time, there were 2 or 3 babushkas that didn't have the refrigerator plugged in. Why? It was empty. Their cabinets empty. Where's social services? There is none. We
know
do.
that, you know?
I myself rescued 18 homeless olim off the street. These are olim. These are not people that are drugged out of their minds. I mean, some started to, and they're not. They just fell through the cracks. Nobody listened to them. Nobody cared. They gave up hope. They wound up. They were sometimes too embarrassed to call their families. Sometimes they have no families. And these are the people we help. It's insanity because nobody else does what we do.
What would you recommend a new immigrant who wants to come to Israel? What would you tell them?
Do your homework. Number 1, you want to move to Israel? You better start learning Hebrew. You don't need to go to the first class. If you don't know the word shalom and todah when you get off the plane, and about 1,000, 2,000 other words like that, seriously, don't come.
But you know, there are many reasons why people do move from place to place, and when do they come? Because I think those who really wants to be part of the Israeli country, I think they have a different background. So the question is, what do they expect? Why do they come?
So a lot of times their expectations don't meet reality.
Right.
Okay. They think it's Yofi, it's going to be watermelon and beautiful girls on the beach.
Yeah.
And they come here and they find out when they're 24 that their job that they're being offered is for 6,000 shekels. And they're like, no, whoa. And they're like, they go to look for apartments, and they're like, whoa, it's 4,000 or 5,000 shekels for an apartment. And I'm talking like a closet in Tel Aviv, even in South Tel Aviv, the bad part of Tel Aviv. So there's no reality. because
So I go back to what I
they
was
only
saying
have to live in
before.
Tel Aviv.
Whoever meets them abroad, when they come to apply and they want to be Olim, they should have
They don't. In a lot of cases, they don't. So Hebrew is the first thing. If you don't come with money in your pocket, you're probably not going to get a job for the first 6 to 9 months. You got to learn some Hebrew. You got to take care of all your personal assets, personal things, you know, kupat cholim, your medical, you know, all this stuff.
But you know, there's a difference between those who come to the office of the Jewish agency, and there is a difference between those who run away, let's say from the Ukraine now that ran, you know, all over the place. If you come to the Jewish agency office, I think they should work with them and prepare groups to teach them certain things and make sure they have the time and the layout in order to move smoothly to Israel and then start to work in Israel.
You know, there are a lot of things here. We deal with a lot of Olim because we deal with mental health. They're all on special medication, you know, antidepressants, anxiety medicine, and they guess what? In Israel, they don't have all these medicines, the exact brand, so they can't get what they're getting abroad, and they switch medicines and they start, you know, downing, and they become lost.
You know, we have to put some order in the whole thing because and it's not, I'm not against anybody. It's just that you have to put some order in the whole thing. People move around and move to other countries for thousands of reasons. And they look for solutions, or they have problems at home and they want to go. And I don't think that Israel should get only those who really mean to build a country. You know, we're not there. The question is, how do you define, how do you prepare them, how do you welcome them? What do you do with this?
So the first thing is learning Hebrew. Second thing is
wait.
What?
Nobody's doing anything, Tzili. What you're talking about?
Hold on. Every country should have some stages in the whole thing, because if it's not an emergency, you need money and you need forces in order to welcome well everybody. So I think I know it's very hard. It's hard to move, period. It's much harder when nobody is waiting for you, and it's even more harder when nobody's preparing you. But I think that it has to be organized differently. The fact is that you deal with the leftovers because they fall between the chairs and nobody's helping them and they are stuck and they cannot go anywhere. So thank God, you know, there are people like you to help. But I think
we let them down. I'm telling you, Tzili.
No,
not you before.
But Tzili, you're right. Tzili, you're right.
Yeah, I said it all the time. Somebody should make a program, you know, how to get them. However, listen.
You know, another thing that bothers people is Israeli manners. If you come from a polite country like England, we've had so many Olim cry because what they perceive as Israelis being rude to them.
Yeah.
And people cry in Opon class. You have 50-year-old ladies and men that start crying because the teacher thinks they're stupid. So your whole self-esteem coming here,
right,
you know, starts to decline if you don't get settled and have somebody helping you.
I think it has to be organized and prepared. And I think that it has to be, in order to be very, very well put together for everyone, you have to do it in a moderation. What bothers me is that, like, when there is a disaster, like the war in Ukraine, and everybody came, Israel didn't know what to do with them, to take them, not to take them, Jewish, not Jewish. You know, it's
quota.
Yeah, it's terrible.
We deal with a lot of these people. A lot of them went back to the Ukraine because they were so rude to them at the Jewish agency, the way they treated them.
Don't forget that people expect Jewish people who want to come to Israel, it's not like coming to England and somebody from America. We expect different from a Jewish state.
But that's what I said. The expectations, because they feel the expectations that they feel they're coming home, and suddenly they feel let down. It's exactly right. What you're saying is because they think, oh, everybody's going to do horrors in the street welcoming me. It's
And
not
hug them.
horrors in the street.
And welcome
They're
them.
saying,
Nobody
Lama,
can-
why did you move here? You're a friar. What possesses you to move from America or England or Germany or wherever? You know, yes, there are a lot of people running away from war. There are other people trying to improve their lives. Right now, Aliyah from Brazil and Argentina are at record levels, and they're just getting more and more. All the young people from Argentina, Brazil are fleeing. Now, the rich ones are going to Miami or to Portugal or Spain, and all the poor ones are coming here. Same thing with the French in France. Right now, the poorer ones are coming here. That the poorer ones actually stay here. It's the ones that bought the houses here as insurance, you know, and they have a place. I live in a French neighborhood. Most, I'd say 15% of the apartments here are empty.
For them, it's even
because
easier
they're owned by
because the
French.
French community are kind of united,
Very
but not
strong.
Los Angeles. Kids who come from the, you know, when you come from Paris, there is enough people in Tel Aviv that may help you, French, but not people that come from Los Angeles. There is nobody here like a community of Los Angeles people. It's, you don't have something like this. The French are much luckier in a way.
Well, that's why we established this Facebook community.
Right.
You know, after 2 weeks, the 10,000 people joined the group, screaming and bitching in every language.
Right.
You know, cursing their situation, showed that you have that. Suddenly, we were from Judy Maltz's cover story. We were on every TV show, every morning show, every network. You know, and suddenly, I'll tell you, the girl in the Amutat office, I worked for free for a year and a half at KeepOlim. My father was dying, and he said, you're doing some mitzvah, you're doing a good deed, so I'll pay your rent for a year, but anything else, you're on your own. And then a couple years later, he died. And basically, this organization was made from a grassroots support of the whole community of all the Olim, because they say, let's unite, because unite, we have power. And forget your politics. We're not here to talk about, we service all Olim, whether they're in Ariel or Yudan Shomron or the West Bank. We don't judge people. We also service people that belong to Hare Krishna, apparently, and other people. If you have a Tudat Oleh, we don't judge. If the Israeli government decided to let you in, b'vakasha, we deal with you.
Listen, do you know that we have a general problem, I feel, in Israel, and we were talking about it quite a bit. There used to be much more solidarity in Israel between people in general.
It also used to be a much smaller country.
Right.
When I lived here in the 80s, there was 4.5 million people. Now they say we're 400,000 from 10 million. Where next year we'll hit 10 million people here.
Right.
So it's a very small country in a tight
space. Country to handle this problem, and I think it should be more organized, and people need to help more. But what would you do you put on your website like recommendations for people what to prepare before?
It's almost like a Bible.
So we are a post Aliyah. Sorry, I dropped you. We're a post Aliyah organization. We don't help with Aliyah. There are special cases that we did. We help.
Listen, you have a lot of years of experience and your own personal experience. You can at least address them and tell them, look, guys, we're here to help you when you come in, but I think you should have this and this and that.
Including language.
It would be easier if you do that. You need to be aware that this and this and this and that. So then at least, you know, whatever, and work maybe with the Jewish agency to work on certain system when they come to their office in any country.
The problem is the Jewish agency doesn't want to work with us.
Okay, see?
And they don't want to work with us because we pointed out when we had a meeting with them, they just wanted compliments. They're like, look how good we're doing. And I said, half the people are leaving. So you only want to see what you want to see.
Amazing.
You don't see the So we ended the meeting because we talked about suicide
So
again.
they don't really
So we
care.
left.
They don't
You
really
know?
care.
No, they don't. You know,
Know that every human being should be taken care of, and they have the capacity to do it. And that's
So let's talk about
beginning-
let's talk about
No,
I gotta
listen.
say this.
Since the beginning of the century, since the beginning of any time that people came to Israel, many people went back. When they went back to Europe, even when the Holocaust took place, they went back. The Russians left and went to the United States. Many people left all the time. Not everybody can handle it. They try, it doesn't work, they leave. You cannot address everybody. You have to try to cover the majority.
So that's why we provide mental health. You don't have, if you go through KeepOlim, you'll wait months for an English, Spanish speaking, yet alone Portuguese speaking therapist. And when you get them, it's in basically an Israeli and broken English. Okay, all our therapists or volunteers, we have 70, speak the immigrants' language because they're all Olim themselves. And they're doing this from Chesed. So we have a support system. That's what we do. We say, okay, you need help getting a job. We have a resume program. You need help with the lawyer. We have a lawyer program for reviewing contracts, because when you review contracts, we do free contract reviews for each Oleh in the first year of Aliyah. Why? Because that's the first place they get screwed. They sign a piece of paper in Hebrew. They don't know what they're signing. They just trust you because you're my brother.
You're
I
Jewish.
just made Aliyah.
Jewish
You
is
know?
good to do it. But you know, my father came from Berlin.
Okay.
He had to go every day, morning and afternoon, to the coffee shop of Berliners, right? He always moved around with a butterfly tie. Always. His fingernails, were always manicured. My cousin, she didn't know Hebrew until she died. But it was different times.
But I know people here in New York, Israelis, that they live in Israeli neighborhoods. They don't speak English. They don't know what's going on here. They only know how to get along and how the rules are working for them. And they live like in a ghetto. And also when we grew up in Israel, there were groups of immigrants.
German, Hungarian.
They had their radio station. They had their newspaper. Everybody came to Israel.
It's different times now.
Different
People
now.
have social
Very
media.
different. That's right.
And that's why we connected people on social
I
media.
think they're
That's
doing
the
an
whole.
amazing job. I want to tell you something. I mean, I think you are amazing what you do. I think it's so important. And I want to thank you, almost personally, that you have you and everybody with you who really devote their life to, to taking care of those people. I only made a film about a Berliner who came to Israel. It was completely out of place, but I wish I would put my hand in my pocket and not in my mouth and help, because it's really amazing.
Please, because we need help.
The government, don't help enough.
People are like shocked when they're like, okay, we deal with lone soldiers. Right now, we're organizing, the next project is organizing for lone soldiers after the army, because so many of them have post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. Yes. So we're organizing drop-in places where once a week, we're going to go to a different city, bring pizza, bring beer. We'll have a therapist on hand, and we'll have like an icebreaker game, because these people need friends. Yes. And that's the thing. After you have a camaraderie in the army. You're together, you're pluga for a few years. Suddenly, each one goes to India. This one goes back home. This one goes here. And now they have nothing. And for the 21-year-old American kid, they're lost.
Right.
And so
he has a heart like an ocean. What can I tell you? It's amazing, Liami.
We're a few days away from the new year, the new Jewish year. What do you do for the high holidays?
Oh, he's making shidduch.
We made over 100 shidduchim, where from Milat to Metula, anybody that needed a place to stay, we put them in a home.
Right.
If you were religious and you needed like the Kol Chag, we gave you the Kol Chag, all the holiday. We had 16 families we fed this week, so they could have the Chag, so they have food on the table. And tomorrow night we do our babushkas. We have 9 babushkas. that we spent a few thousand shekels on, and we try to spoil them because, first of all, they don't leave the house, you know, and they have nobody. And sadly, that's only 9 lucky people, because for them, they won the lottery. You know, we have about 30,000 just in Bat Yam alone. What about in Jaffa? What about in Lod? What about in Haifa, Jerusalem?
Yes.
So
Because,
it's
Liami,
endless.
because we have to end up. Just give us a message, or give a message to the new immigrants on the way to Israel. What would you tell them?
Well, first of all, I say Baruch haba, welcome to Israel, but live in reality, not in Hollywood illusions. This is not the Israel this is a real country. Your visions of what's going to happen here, and you're going to meet the most beautiful girl and live in a penthouse overlooking the beach, and you're going to drive around in a Maserati, and you know, it's very different. Tel Aviv is the most expensive city in the world for us.
Right.
Okay, so let's live in reality. You can't come here and say, "Oh, I'm American. I'm a college graduate. Here's my diploma," and expect Israelis to bow down at your feet. Sorry, that ain't gonna happen. Right. Stand in line. Every other Israeli wants you to bow down and kiss their feet. So basically, you have to be realistic. If you don't learn Hebrew, you're going to have to start any place working in service, working with tourists.
So at least those Jewish agencies in America who don't want to have any, you know, scratch on the beautiful picture they portray, at least they should tell them, learn Hebrew. I think they might.
Don't. I say give a free Opon online before I say that they should have a list of 1,000 words in a test, and you get free online videos, and until you pass the 1,000-word test,
you're right.
You can't come to Israel, because we're just building up more, like, how if they only invested a little bit more money into mental health. We're doing this, okay? I'm living on my father's inheritance that my father gave me. I can't pay my bills on my salary, okay? And I have a whole crew of volunteers. Susan, who runs mental health, works 50 hours a week, except for Shabbos, to 12, 13 hours a day, one after the other, saving Olim. It's overwhelming. So we need to have a proper budget for this.
Listen, I bless, you know, God bless you. It's unbelievable.
Liami, keep working.
Yes.
Do as much more. And Shana Tova.
Oh, Shana Tova.
Shana Tova to you too, and all the listeners.
Right. Yes.
And if you want more information, go to keepolim.org, and it's in 4 languages, so you can take your pick and enjoy and see what we do. And if you like what we do, please donate. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure meeting both of you today. And I expect to see both of you in Israel. I look forward to a cup of coffee with both of you, my treat. Okay? Bye-bye. Take care. Shalom, shalom. Bye.
See you next week.